My name is Jack Holt, an investigative journalist contacted by a collaborator of Edward's to uncover what's happened to the Puffton family. Along with two teams of mercenaries, I hopped in a helicopter to a mysterious island. Nearing the island, we were shot down by God knows what. We hit down hard on the water, luckily by a shore. I thought I had died, until I was woken up by some guy in a silver suit with a gun.
Now who invited you here?
Instead of killing me, he knocked me back out. After coming to again, I found one of the mercenaries squirming among the wreckage, Kelvin. Glad to see another survivor, I ran to check on him. He was pretty beat up and possibly has brain damage. However, he was aware and functioning. Stranded on the desolate beach with no immediate hope of rescue, we made home on the shore we crashed near and started building a shelter for nightfall and winter soon to come. The first few days were uneventful. We spent most of our time gathering materials and took advantage of the woods close to the beach. We had no idea how long we were going to be here, or if help would be on the way and how long that would take. We scavenged what we could from the crash and only stopped building to eat. Around the fourth day is when we started encountering other inhabitants of this island. They seemed more curious than aggressive, but we kept our distance and a sharp eye nonetheless. Occasionally we'd run into water nearby along the shore to avoid any unnecessary conflicts. They seem to avoid the water. Maybe they can't swim. We used turtle shells to collect rainwater before we learned about the stream nearby. We probably should have checked for that before we started building. We gathered and ate what we could, not straying too far from the beach, only going as far as the stream to collect water. We haven't seen much wildlife. Maybe the cannibals ate them all. Kelvin turned out to be a big help, as expected. I wonder if anyone from the other team survived. We haven't heard anything from anyone in these last few days. I wonder where Silver Suit went, where he's holding up and why he spared us. After the first couple short interactions we had with the cannibals here, we built a small spiked wall around the shelter. Despite there not being any wildlife around, there's been plenty of seagulls. We even found some aloe vera and blueberries while cutting trees. The cannibals were getting more and more curious and aggressive every day. Sometimes I would see them sitting in the trees watching us from the background of the forest. We used a makeshift bow and spears, and Kelvin showed how to use sticks and rocks to make palisades around the shelter. We fashioned a sled out of sticks to push our logs, saving a lot of time. wasn't long before the cannibals started coming out in groups. Getting a closer look, I noticed they seemed partially mutated as well. We burned the bodies and used the bones as armor. Kelvin's idea. We ended up with so many bones we had to find a place to store them. We found a mutant on the beach. It looked like a baby. I guess the stories are true. We added more spikes around the house after that. A woman with 3 legs and arms came up to us. She stayed pretty far back. There was something familiar about her. She seemed to be more afraid of us than we were of her, and she wasn't bothering anything, so we left her alone. Some nights we'd have to sleep in a cave because we'd get raided by cannibals. The caves weren't much better than sleeping outside. Distant moaning of movement coming from deeper in the cave kept us up for most of those nights. We haven't ventured further than the entrance, maybe another time. 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night is starting to become the norm. We'd find corpses hanging from trees and sticks stuck in the ground with flesh attached to them. I don't know what that's about yet. We needed lights, so we stuck a few logs in the ground around the shoreline and added torches to each of them. At least that was the plan. Different types of mutants were starting to appear. The second mutant we found looked like a human with pale skin shrink wrapped to its body. I don't think I saw any facial features. This one was sporadic and moved on all fours. I stood on rocks and any high ground I could find to help keep it away. Its mouth was covered by skin, but that didn't stop it from letting out horrible guttural moaning. After killing it, we burned its body like the rest of them. At least they make for good armor. The attacks from the cannibals were slowly getting worse. We got attacked by this one cannibal that stood around 7 feet tall, wearing a golden mask and wielding a club. He almost took Kelvin out, even with multiple arrows sticking out his back. Shots to the head were barely slowing him down. I loaded him up with arrows and he just kept coming. I don't know how many arrows it took before he finally stopped moving. I'm just happy there was only one of them. After we dealt with the cannibal, we took some time to rest, collect ourselves, and eat before we got back to finishing up the shelter. Not long after dealing with the big cannibal, we were hit by 3 smaller cannibals. The first came charging right into the spikes we had laid on the side of the shelter. He had almost nothing on him, I think. A bone for a weapon. The other 2 wore about the same amount of clothing and were smart enough to not get too close. One had a couple sickles in each hand while the other had spears on their back, but neither got to use them. They were taken out quickly. I started to think they may have a camp nearby and they've been sending scouts. Looking over the treetops, I could see smoke from a campfire. It was fortunate I woke up after the crash before the cannibals or these mutants found us. I still wonder why Silver Suit left us alive. There hasn't been signs of him anywhere in over a week. Day 7 and activity on the island is picking up fast. It feels like we've made little progress. Attacks are becoming increasingly frequent and more mutants are showing up seemingly out of nowhere. I can't wait to have this shelter built. It'll be much safer and warmer than sleeping out here on the ground. Every day brought new challenges, and every night whispered secrets of untold horrors lurking in the shadows.